Good morning, guys, and welcome to FYI for your information. You're in the right place. You're in the right place today. A good morning to each and every one of you. Pull up a cup of something with us. We got some black coffee at our end here, and we got some news and information we think that ought to interest you guys. So we're out here, folks. We're out here. Good morning. We were up late, folks. We were up very, very late evening, last evening. So we need this cup of coffee, wherever you guys are joining us from. Share the live. We got lots of news and information to share with you folks. Onessa Ward Dean is here. Onessa says good morning to all, and to all a good morning, folks. Letting you know very early, we're going to have a short program. The mayor is having a press conference at 9 o'clock, and we want to head off to that so that we can let you guys know what transpired there. Credible, valid information. That's what we're about here. Credible, valid information. So we want to head off to that press conference. So we're going to do about half hour of programming this morning, but we got lots to share with you. We want to pack into that half hour. Lola Greenwich and all the other folks joining us, we got a lot of things that we want to pack into that half hour we're going to be spending with you guys this morning because of that press conference you have coming up at City Hall this morning. Mayor Ubraj Narain is hosting a press conference, and we're heading off to that so we can continue to bring you guys valid and credible information. So look out for that, folks. Look out for that. That's some of the things we're going to be tracking this morning. Good to see all of you here. Suchan Sudhari and Edward Brooms, Myrtle Hines, and all the other folks joining us this morning. Guys, you know, of course, we're going to be discussing all things local government elections. Yeah, it's the morning after the night before. The morning after the night before, and we are seeing different commentators having their say with what transpired yesterday. I don't think it's the kind of blowout elections that the PPP was looking for at the local government level with the kind of spending that they did. So you're going to hear them come out to talk about the inroads that they have made. Folks, in elections, either you win or you lose. It's either you win or you lose. You don't get points for inroads. You don't get points for inroads. The General Secretary of the PPP had a press conference late last evening, come out trying to push back against some of what Christopher Jones and Randy and the other folks, social media commentators were saying out there on social media. But in large measure, that was to save his own hide, because remember, he knows it all. Right? He's the only person who's been speaking on behalf of the PPP on anything, including local government. So he has to save his own hide. He has to remain relevant, and so they have moved from projecting these massive victories to making inroads. Well, folks, the coalition made lots of inroads. For instance, in the indigenous communities in 2020. Right? But it's either you sit down in the seat of power or you're not sitting there. So these inroads, we see them reverting to now. It's quite startling. It's quite startling. For the money the PPP dished out during this election campaign, we're averaging conservative figures about, $4 or $5 billion. You could go up to 15 if you put in all those handouts and so on. Right? So they're supposed to make inroads for that kind of spending. But were there any outright victories in APNU strongholds that they can claim? Right? That'll be the interesting part. GECOM promised to have some information and results, most of which they had promised to put out last night, but that has not been the case. As a matter of fact, we haven't had any official results out of GECOM. What we did see at GECOM last evening was a lot of chaos and confusion. A lot of chaos and confusion at GECOM. Lots of the presiding officers for Georgetown, they tell us, descended on the Critchlow Labour College there in Wolford Avenue. That's a big mistake. GECOM has been tinkering with the system, of course, to give the PPP the advantage. They have been tinkering with this system. And last night was just another example of that. And a bad decision to scrap some of the previous systems existing on the GECOM. This guy, this new guy doesn't know what he's doing at all. This new guy does not know what he is doing at all. And he is removing a lot of the things that were there in the past that helped the GECOM to run more efficiently. They're not even doing some of the major hires. For instance, they don't have a voter education manager. He took on some of that task for himself, no doubt distracting him from some of the important things that he was supposed to be doing. And so we saw total chaos last evening out there at the Christian Labor College location of the GECOM. I think they said it was the headquarters for the Region 4 presiding officers. Again, they have been tinkering with this system, right? That's what they've been doing. They have been tinkering with this system, folks. And here is some of what we saw coming out of that GECOM location there last evening at the Christian Labor College. Of course, Claudette missing again. Claudette gone missing. You all remember that COI that didn't have too much to say about Claudette, right? Even though she provided some damning testimony, self-incriminating, as it were, they were silent on her performance. Now her performance is out there in the public domain again. She's gone into hiding. She's gone into hiding. But this time, nobody breaking down no doors and, removing documents from GECOM like they did in the 2020 election. Though that mob that throbbed GECOM, in this case, was GECOM's own staff. It was GECOM's own staff protesting what was transpiring there last evening. They said for hours, presiding officers in Georgetown had to wait just to hand in some documentation. Again, because their boy there at GECOM fiddled with the system. This is some of what transpired at GECOM last evening. Take a look. Folks, you see why we say that Claudette must go? Where is the chairman of the Guyana Elections Commission? Where is the chief elections officer, Vishnu Prasad, for that matter? Mum, out of GECOM. I think that is the Starbucks News caption. GECOM mum. The CEO, the chief elections officer, Vishnu Prasad, promised that he would have most of the results out last evening. That is some of what we saw. The media was reporting on. Most of the results were going to be out. None of it has come out. None of it. None of it has come out. And that's just some of what we are covering. So when we saw this information on the Facebook page of Gordon Mosley, for instance, we had to go down there and see for ourselves at the GECOM location what was happening. Folks, by then we got down there, we saw ambulances, among other things. GECOM staff would have fainted. They said some staff were vomiting. Again, one guy described who we're going to hear from just now, the situation as, or somebody down there described the situation as inhumane. All of these folks packed into this location here. And people started to have some medical complications when we got down there at GECOM. Look what we saw. Take a look. We have a staff coming down here. A staff coming down on this side. There we have a GECOM staff coming down, receiving oxygen. And that's some of what they're telling us is happening here. Quite a few staff took ill. As you heard the gentleman say, inhumane conditions. That's some of what they're saying. And this is just some of what we're seeing. A staff being helped into the ambulance. Some of what we're seeing there. Just some of what we're seeing there. Just some of what we're seeing there, folks. An ambulance is here. GECOM, the folks says a lot of stuff happening on the upstairs. A lot of the staff here just kind of milling around, not doing anything in particular. I don't know. They said they were waiting hours to hand in documents. That's one of the concern here. Staff have been waiting for hours to hand in documentation. The guy said folks were jumping through the windows, all manner of things. Some of the staff leaving. This is total confusion. One of the GECOM staff there. One of the GECOM staff there. I do hear a police vehicle. Another ambulance is coming in. Another ambulance is coming in. Another ambulance is coming in. Another ambulance is coming in here. Another ambulance is coming in here. Folks describe it as confusion. They said folks were jumping through the windows. That's some of what folks were telling us, that folks were jumping through the windows. We want to talk with Commissioner Alexander back in a second, but another one of the staff, GECOM staff, coming down, and so we wanted to get some of that and not be in the way either. Sorry, we had to break transmission there with Commissioner Alexander, but that's the GECOM staff coming down. Another GECOM staff, one of two indeed we've seen thus far since we're here. One of two we've seen thus far. There's another GECOM staff. That looks like an oxygen tank to us, but of course we're not medical professionals. But that looks like an oxygen tank. Staff there receiving oxygen. Yep, that's some of what we saw down there at GECOM early this morning. This was about 1:30 this morning, and all of that was happening at that GECOM location. And persons say, presiding officer said they were waiting for hours, 4 or 5 hours, just to hand in their documentation and move on. And this is what happened when you fiddle with the system. Claudette Singh, nowhere to be found. Vishnu Prasad, nowhere to be found. Anil Giddings, nowhere to be found. You're not hearing from GECOM. No results as yet. GECOM promised they were going to have most of the results out last evening. You know, they thought they could do better. Right? They could manage better. They could make GECOM great again. Because it wasn't great apparently, so they destroyed lots of the systems that would have prevented that from happening last night. Total failure and total meltdown at GECOM. Now, here's what one guy on the scene there last night told us. What is happening?
Everybody from all the polling stations that used to be that the DRO used to come down. So you would get like significantly less persons here. So if a school, for instance, got like 10 polling stations, all 10 persons that come down and result in a choke here. And apparently they didn't cater for the persons. So you have everybody there in humane conditions because everybody breathing. They ain't got proper ventilation. One way in, one way out. Some people trying to jump down. Got like 2 people black out and see a girl black out in the corner there. Father had to come and pick up. Even down to GECOM officials didn't even come and pick up.
Wow. So she's gone home or to the hospital?
To father come pick up. So my best guess, either he can carry her to the hospital or home. I don't know.
Yeah. That's just again some of what we heard, some of what we saw last evening. Well, this morning, the morning after, folks, the night before, the morning after the night before, and we got a chance as we were looking on to see the events unfolding there at the GECOM Christian Labor College venue there. They were housing the presiding officers, we told, of Region 4 were making their returns there, and lots of them were waiting for hours, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours, just to hand in a piece of documentation there of the results in the various places. And of course, the gentleman said there were folks coming through the window, folks fainting. We saw the ambulances there, and that's just GECOM. You know, saw some commentary last evening on social media, people saying, you know, you can't have an election where this stuff doesn't happen. Folks, here's a commissioner out of the Ghana Elections Commission, Mr. Vincent Alexander. Commissioner Alexander, could you tell us what's happening here?
Well, we have a situation where I think that the system for the receipt is not an efficient system, because initially the RO apparently was instructed that the RO should be the recipient of every statement of poll. Now, if you have 351 polling stations, with the RO being the singular recipient, you can understand that has induced chaos. I have intervened. There has been some response to my intervention. The number of persons have moved from 1 to 5, but it's still slow, still tedious, and you still have a significant number of persons awaiting to be dealt with.
Commissioner, you're holding your neck. I couldn't escape that. Are you yourself feeling well?
I'm pretty okay. I'm pretty okay. Obviously tired, and therefore I can empathize with those people, because like them, we have been up from about 3 this morning, and it's almost 3 again. So these people are on what may be considered a 24-hour shift.
Commissioner Alexander, have you ever seen this in the recent past?
No, this has not happened before. You know, people normally say leave well alone, but there's a tendency by some people to think that those before them didn't do a good job, but they can do a better job. But what we have here is an attempt to say you're doing a better job, induce chaos.
How many persons do you estimate have fallen ill?
I've seen two who have fallen ill.
We were made to understand that earlier there was real pandemonium here. People were jumping through windows and all of that. Talk to us about that.
But one can say there was pandemonium. For example, I couldn't easily get into the area that I wanted to get into as a commissioner, because it was simply crowded, and once I attempted to pass, then people were rushing to use that opportunity to themselves to get into the line to submit. So it was really a chaotic situation.
This was just brought to GECOM's attention, and what systems have been put in place.
I called the CEO myself, and he spoke to the RO. I suggested that they should put in place at least 15 VROs to deal with the situation. He said the RO responded and said the most he can accommodate is 10. I don't think they're up to 10 as yet, but they moved from the one that was previously doing the work to about 5.
Commissioner Alexander, how much more time would you think the presiding officers have at this location?
Well, a lot of time, because I can't say how many persons have come so far, because the total numbers I understand should be about 351.
And this is just for Georgetown or wider areas?
This is Georgetown polling stations.
You said early on, leave well alone. Could you explicate on that for us?
In the past, we did not have all of the polling stations reporting directly to the returning officer. What we had was a number of deputy returning officers. And so, for example, you could have one deputy returning officer for each constituency. And therefore, the polling clerks, the presiding officers will report to the VRO for the constituency, which meant that there would be 15 persons to whom a report is made, and in 15 different places. Those 15 persons will then report to the RO. that is not what has pertained on this occasion. They have dismantled that mechanism, and all the POs are required to report to the RO, which means a number of things. It means they have to cover distance. So whether you're from Agricola or Cummins Lodge, you got to come to Cuchillo. It means that all of them are coming to report to one person. That is a question of space. It's a question of time.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Welcome back, folks. And again, that was Commissioner Vincent Alexander, GECOM Commissioner, again, Elections Commission, Commissioner Vincent Alexander, talking to us last night about what was transpiring at GECOM at the Christian Labour College location in Wolford Avenue, as returning officers from Region 4 were trying to hand in their results, the results from their various places of poll. We were told that they had to wait long hours. Folks were, of course, you can imagine, hungry and tired and all of those things. And needless to say, there wasn't too much, there weren't too many provisions made for workers having to stand and wait. And a lot of folks, hundreds of folks crowded out that location. Some staff fainted. We saw the ambulance there taking away at least 2 of the staff there at the GECOM Christian Labour College location last evening. That's just somewhat we're following on that front. Folks, the beat down, you know, these $10,000 and a box of cook-up, folks, didn't fare too well. Didn't fare too well at all. You know, truth be told, the PPP did pick up a couple extra votes where they wouldn't have necessarily. But for all of the spending that the PPP did, for all of the legwork they did with the ministers, you know, doling out money and trying to buy out folks with $10,000 and a box of cook-up, it didn't go too well last year. As a matter of fact, yesterday should be seen as a failure by Bar Jagdeo and a failure by the PPP. 2 of those persons for Georgetown, for instance, was Trisha Richards, who crossed over to the PPP. 10,000 in a box of cook-up. You had Chase Green as well, folks. Don't take my word for it. Yesterday was a big down for both candidates. Both candidates was a big down. As I said, don't take my word for it. Starbuck News this morning in its reporting said that Winston Harding, who is the candidate that went up against Trisha Richards in Constituency 13, this is Starbuck News reporting, Winston Harding easily defeated PPPC candidate Trisha Richards. Easily. These are the words of the Starbuck News. Middle of the road, sometimes they get a couple of things wrong, but more than often, they are on point. That's what they're saying. You know, that's what they're saying. Let me come in a little bit more. Yeah. Winston Harding easily defeated Trisha Richards there. So all them roads and so on that went in last minute in Lane Avenue, the folks saw through it. This wasn't a close race. This was a beat down. This was a beat down, folks. This was a beat down, and that was Constituency 13. Constituency 12. That was the mayor's constituency. You know, she was on the proportional representation aspect of the ballot. Might still get into City Hall because of that. But the first past the post candidate that she introduced to the community didn't fare so well. Did not fare so well at all. So it tells you about the former mayor's political stock there. It tells you of the former mayor's political stock in Georgetown and Constituency 12. And this is what Starbuck News is reporting. In Constituency 12, Tocqueville, North Ramville, where the PPPC had appeared convinced that it had pulled off a coup by attracting former APNU Mayor Pat Chase Green to its camp, the ruling party got a shellacking. This is Starbuck News, folks. This is Starbuck News. Clearly not an opposition news entity. Clearly not an opposition news entity. It says that in Constituency 12, the PPPC, Chase Green, got a shellacking. Got a shellacking. The night was so bad for the PPP. I heard Mr. Jaglio telling some folks in his press conference last evening, don't go listen to what the APNU say. Right? But this is not APNU. This is Starbuck News says that they got a shellacking. Folks, they got a shellacking. That is Starbuck News reporting. Right? The ruling party got a shellacking. Yeah, this was Obama's word in, I think, 2012. The midterms there. Or was it 2009 midterms? He said the Republicans got a shellacking. Starbuck News said the PPP, Naomi and others, got a shellacking. Yep. So for all of this spending, again, you'll hear them say they made inroads. They got some extra votes in some areas. For the amount of money y'all spend, y'all should be shamed that y'all unclench more wins. Folks, you don't get elected to office by inroads. Is that you win or you lose? Is that you win a constituency or you lose the constituency? You don't get just for standing around, making a couple extra steps to the finish line. Win or lose, APNU made some inroads into lots of PPP strongholds in 2020. That's how we know we were cheated and not defeated in the end. We made lots of inroads. But are we in the halls of power? No. You don't get points to inroads. You win or lose. That's it in politics, unfortunately. And the PPP lost big last night. With the spending, Mr. Norton came out very early. He said we're going to defend strongholds. Right? We don't believe in this list. The list is dirty. We got to clean up the list. We got to do a number of things. Biometrics. He walked through all of those issues. He said we aren't going to contest in every place, but we believe we have a right. We believe we have a responsibility to maintain our strongholds. And they've done that. They have done that last night. Outspent by the PPP. Right? I wouldn't even say 100 to 1. Probably 10,000 to 1. 50,000, I put it as high as that. 50,000 to 1. Outspent by the PPP. And perhaps even outmanned in lots of instances because you didn't contest all these areas. You know, Mr. Jaglio came out and say they had 26,000 backers and a whole manner of things for last night's showing. For the beat down that Chase Green got. What was all of that for? Folks, we did alert you that we are going to be heading off very early this morning because we want to cover a press conference that the mayor is hosting to get some information out of that for you. Credible, valid information. Credible, valid information. You know, red wave of tears. But you know what? Lots of what transpired during the course of yesterday perhaps was a precursor. If you were looking at body language, if you were looking at what was being said on social media, half of the people that were exuding a bravado went quiet on social media. Even when you saw Mr. Jaglio during the course of yesterday giving updates, you know, it was a very, very reserved figure. All of a sudden, because they knew they were getting the reports and they knew some of what was happening. So this red wave was really a red wave of tears. And then they sent out a set of bogus people. Oh, they're observers. You know, everything went well. Everything went nice. That's some of what they were trying to tell us. Everything went smooth. You know, everything went dandy. You know, I smile at some of them sometimes. You gotta smile at some of them. Everything went beautiful. All things nice and beautiful. That's some of what they wanted us to believe, folks. Just some of what they wanted us to believe. Right? some of what they wanted us to believe transpired last evening. Right? Yesterday, the Prime News caught up with their General Secretary, Mr. Jack Dew, and he was talking about some concerns he had. So you have these hacks coming out claiming to be part of independent observers groups. And here you had Roslinda Rasool, who works for Foreign Affairs, suddenly dons a t-shirt that says AmCham or some foolishness like that, and suddenly she's an observer. Staunch, card-bearing member of the PPP. Suddenly she's an observer for one of the business chambers. Some foolishness, AmCham or something like that. Right? She's in the numbers, and suddenly she is an observer. Here's Mr. Jagdio, according to Prime News yesterday.
I've had reports all morning. There were slight hiccups, but these are being resolved.
Like what?
One issue has been about the information clerks. Many of them are saying to people, you have to come to me first before you go into the polling place. If people know where they're voting because they've already checked and that they're on the list, then they don't necessarily have to go to every information clerk. So in some polling places, that was becoming an issue because a bottleneck. They have a long line before with the information clerk. And like even here, I see something happening again. People can come straight to the polling place. They're not required to go to the information clerk, only if they need assistance. And so this has been something that we've always had at election time. And sometimes people are misdirected. We've had one instance where a person was told, you're not voting here, you're voting at another place, another location. And then when we checked, their name was on the list at that particular location. So that we brought it to the attention of the officials, some of the presiding officers, the ROs.
What are you hearing about voter turnout?
Voter turnout, as expected, would be low. We know that it would be low. We've spoken about this on the campaign. We said the PPP is fighting against complacency, not so much against apathy in many areas.
Yep. General Secretary of the PPP, Jack Leo there, he has some concerns too. Where is GECOM? GECOM voter education, clearly internally and externally, tremendously poor. Tremendously poor. But as y'all wanted Vishnu, as y'all wanted Anil, and you got it. You got what you paid for. You got what you paid for. Folks, before we head off to that press conference with the mayor of Georgetown, before we head off there, let's give you a run through quickly of some of what we are following this morning. A very quick run through. It looks as though the PPP is going to eke out a win in the township. We're just looking at townships of Mabaruma. It was always very close in Mabaruma since the last local government election of 2018. It was always very, very close there since that election in Mabaruma. It seems as though the millions and the billions that they poured in would have paid off in the township of Mabaruma. That is one of the things we are looking. And so the PP, they are looking like they've been deemed they're projected as the winners coming out of Region 1 there in Mabaruma. Region 2, Anna Regina, of course, this is Heartland for the PPP. So no big surprises here. This is Heartland for the PPP. So the projected winner, of course, GECOM has not released any official information, hence projected winner here. GECOM has not, they said most of the results were going to be in by last evening. Nothing, right? Nothing has come out officially. So again, projected winner there in region number 2, Anna Regina, the PPP. Region 3, this is NDCs because there's no township here in Region 3, but they're going to pick up. They always outnumbered APNU AFC in the NDCs in Region 3. So they're going to pick up lots of those NDCs out of Region 3. Georgetown, the APNU is going to hold on to Georgetown for all of the money and people and the switchovers. We spoke about some of them already that happened in the municipality of Georgetown. All of the starving City Hall for funds that occurred in Georgetown. Look at this. They're going to APNU is projected to win Georgetown. In spite of all of that, again, you hear them, but in roads. It's either you win or you lose. It's either you win or you lose. Then talk about in roads, right? So for Region 4, the municipality of Georgetown, APNU is being projected to carry that. Region 5, we're going to look to see how this goes. APNU has held on to its strongholds in Region 5 again. Like Region 3, there's no municipality here, but APNU has held on to its strongholds in Region 5. In Region 5, so that's what we are looking at this hour. Region 6, they have their eyes, like Georgetown, set on New Amsterdam, poured a lot of money again, a lot of money, had some crossovers here, didn't do so well for them at all. All of the constituencies were won by APNU. Not one went to the PPP. Not one. So the money didn't pay off there at all. Didn't pay off. For all this switchover and so on, the people are going to hold on to Rose Hall and Riverton. They're in Region 6. Projected winners there. Bartica, they're telling us it's a tie. Right? Preliminary information says there's a tie in Bartica. So that's one of the things we got to watch. One of the municipalities we got to watch. The municipality of Bartica, they're telling us it's a very, very close race here in Bartica. That has been how it has been developing over the years, and it has remained that we're a very close race in Bartica. This is Region 7, they're telling us. Region 8, same thing, Madhya. They're telling us a very, very close race in Madhya as well. We are going to watch that. I mean, the people should be ashamed with the amount of money they poured into some of these regions, the amount of money they poured into some of the constituencies with very, very little to show for it. Again, Region 8, very close. They are telling us here, and a tie, I think, with seats in Region 8 at the moment. We are still watching that. So 7 and 8, you got that that very, very close race happening there. Region 9, Letem was uncontested by APNU, So of course, that goes into their column. And then again, they were salivating. They were salivating looking at Region 10. Projected winner, APNU has held on to its base in Region 10, and Kokwani as well, that sub-region there in Region 10. And that's information we have for you folks at the hour. That is information we have for you folks. Share the live, smash that emoji button for us folks. We have to leave our broadcast there this morning. There's a press conference with the mayor coming up that we want to make sure that we cover on your behalf so that we keep bringing you folks valid, credible information. So that's going to do it for us at this end, folks. That is what we know at the hour. We're going to try to be back during our podcast time, if not before, with an additional update. Thanks for joining us, folks. Thanks for joining FYI, all things LG. That's the kind of morning that we are having. Sorry we had to rush through some of that, but we want to get into that press conference. We're going to see you guys on our next broadcast. Stay safe.